So, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm here with Ryan Lanteigne. I'm Yusuf El Harez. This is the first time I'm going to come on this camera today. And this is the first interview. Ryan, we are here in Sweden, Gateville, Montour Park.
It's great to be out here at Gateville again. It's the second round, I guess, this season. It's my first round this season, though.
Valar was there a few weeks ago, end of May, and that was blast. The guys really had a blast. Nelson here, Ali Nelson, also qualified first. We're going to interview him later on, but let's stay away from that for a little bit and grab this opportunity while we're talking to you to talk about the drifting on the international scene, because people who follow you see you in Brazil, see you in Russia, see you in like all over the world. Yep. Tell us about how did drifting grow? Since 2004, Formula Drift have started. Few years before that, or many years before that, Japan have started drifting, and where we are today.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see how far we've come with the drifting series around the world. Like you said, there are series everywhere now. It's hard to find a country where there isn't a series that's already organized and running and operational. I've been going to Brazil. I was in the Dominican a couple of years ago. And then, of course, in Europe as well, Belarus, Latvia, in Russia, here. It's really impressive to see the scope, the size of drifting now. Even the FIA is getting involved in drifting, so you know that it must be something important enough if they're getting involved.
Well, definitely there's a lot of money in it for the FIA, so the FIA has to be involved in it. Plus, the safety regulations is always good when it comes from the FIA perspective. Now, I've also noticed from your social media posts that you've been attending some of those FIA meetings. What can we expect to come from that?
Well, right now it's in the planning phases. We had a meeting of the judging working group about a month ago in Paris, and we discussed what we think the judging should be. Now, I put together a proposal that was sent out to all of the groups of the drifting working group, which is one level above the judging working group, and they're going to vote on that shortly. And if that gets voted in, I believe it'll go to the World Motorsports Council, and they will vote on it as well. So what we have in terms of a plan has to be approved first. So we're trying to make it as, I guess, understandable for the fans as possible, as fair for the drivers as possible. It has to be a smooth system that's implementable around the world. It can't be something that is too complicated or difficult for a smaller series with a smaller budget to incorporate into their series. So that's one of the main criteria that we had while planning our drifting judging system. But we have to understand that at the FIA level, the one event per year that they run, it has to be a judging system that's on the global scale. It has to be something that is high level, that can be a little more complex, but still has to be fair and understandable. So it's a very difficult line to walk, trying to incorporate all those requirements into one system.
I mean, FIA usually requires a lot of inputs and a lot of regulations to any event they come across. I have a personal experience with the FIA regulations back in the Middle East, where sometimes we need to run some events and call them as fun events and timed events like autocross or gymkhana kind of thing, but we cannot use the timer because the moment we put a timer system, that falls under FIA. Do we expect something similar to happen to drifting? Do you think so?
Well, right now, what we're trying to incorporate is a level of safety regulations, first of all, that will be implemented in all FIA-sanctioned series countries around the world. That's the first and foremost objective, is to make everything safe. We don't want events that are run in an unsafe manner by people in a parking lot with no structure, no guardrails or walls to protect fans in case a car goes off. That has to be number one. Then we're trying to incorporate a lot of our judging ideas to be used by all these different series as well. Now, there are different thought processes, there are different ideas within the FIA working group of how that should work, mainly because we have the D1 guys that are there with their DOS system, and then I'm an FD guy, so I'm trying to bring the FD system in, which we believe is more understandable and easier to use in those different series around the world. I can show up with two other judges with a notepad and a piece of paper and judge an event anywhere at all. I don't need Wi-Fi, I don't need electronics, I don't need anything. I don't even need power, really. But if you bring into something like that DOS system, you need a lot of power, you need all the electronic systems to go in each individual car, you need the system that will capture all that information, the computers that will analyze the information, send it out to a pad for the judges to use. It's very complex, very expensive. Now, if you try to incorporate that in some third world countries or some smaller countries with a series that has a lower budget, it's very difficult for that to work. So we're working hard to try to avoid that.
I mean, let's work hard to try to make drifting grow, not put systems that's going to block it from growing and make it just more expensive to people, which I totally agree with you. I mean, the FD system just makes sense to, I think, the majority of the people. When we sit like many different nations, when I come to Gatesville and there's an event running in FD, it happened before, and we watch, and 90% of the people sitting down and watching is like, yeah, okay, it's leaning towards X over Y, without mentioning any names. I mean, that's the general idea. Okay, there's qualifying. Okay, the score is 80, 82. Everybody thinks the same, and it ends up to be like somewhere around that as well. So it makes sense to the human brain. I think the FD system makes sense to our normal common sense to understand it as a viewer, and of course as an enthusiast. That was a great take. Now, Formula Drift 2018, it's been insane. We had Asbo, winner, round 1. We had, who was round 2?
Memory's really bad.
Yeah, I know that Asbo, Blush, Dean, they won first, and you had a 4th winner as well. I think, was it Forsberg?
Yep.
In Florida. Now, 4 different winners,
yep.
4 rounds, I think 4 rounds to go.
You're right.
How does it look?
It's a very exciting time in Formula D right now. Up until maybe 3 years ago, you could almost guess who was going to win in top 32. Then in top 16, things would get a little more dicey. Top 8, you never knew. But now, top 32, you don't know who's going to win. The competition is at such a high level right now that you go into top 32, none of the fans know, none of the teams know either. Everybody's just fighting tooth and nail for every position, which is, it's only been in the last few years that we've been at that level, and I believe it's partly due to the judging system, but also because of the driving level just keeps getting higher and higher. The people that are coming in as teams, drivers, they're bringing in top level equipment, top level skill from the drivers, and just this will and this desire to win. So
the engineering behind the cars has just became absolutely insane.
Yes, the speeds that they're achieving, the proximity that they're having now in tandem, it's really incredible. And it's made for a series now that you never know what's going to happen. You can't guess, you can't anticipate. Stuff happens in 32 that you never thought would happen. So it's really exciting. And like you said, 4 different winners in 4 rounds proves that anybody can win at any point in time.
And you look at Van Gittin is being kicked out from top 32, Chelsea is on top 16, King Gucci is somewhere around that, Michael Essa, and these are all veterans, and these guys have been there for like since day one, and they're like top class drivers. But some guys are coming around, and they're actually kicking them out from very early time on that state in these competitions, and it's really awesome where it come to. So Next up, we have Seattle in about 5 weeks, and then we have hometown of Michael Essa, I guess.
No.
Is it Seattle?
No, Essa lives in the Long Beach area.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, we have St. Louis, and then Texas, and then Irwindale. So the next 4 rounds, 3 of them will be Pro 2 rounds as well. So it's going to be very busy.
Yeah, Ole Jansson won round 1 on Pro 2 as well.
Yeah, Ule Jager?
Ole Jager, sorry.
Yeah, Ule Jager was there. He won round 1, did a really good job. He's really revitalized himself in his car from last season where he struggled a little bit. But Chucky, that Supra that he drives, is in top fighting form now, and he's going to be, I think, somebody to watch in Pro 2 for sure.
Yeah, it's also been very interesting Pro 2 this year. The round 1 was quite interesting. Back to Gatesville. Today we're having Drift Series, tandem competition, top 16. Any expectations?
Well, we have some drivers here that are very surprising as well. We saw is it Nilsson that qualified first?
Yes, Ole Nilsson.
He qualified first in the first round, finished second. So he's trying to repeat that or better, right? He wants to win the event. But we've got some drivers that are very impressive here that are showing that from year over year, their amount of skill has increased an incredible amount. They're more reliable in terms of their car builds. They're able to repeat their runs. They're just consistent. And they're able to get the track. They're able to figure the track out very quickly now, whereas in the past, it took a little bit longer. So you can see their skill level rising as well, and it's due to these drivers that are at such a high level competing with them. It just brings the whole competition up. So it's going to be a good day today.
It's going to be really awesome. Stay tuned for the live stream when that comes. Ryan, I can keep talking to you for like hours and hours and hours and hours. There's like so much that we can discuss, but we're going to keep it here for now. I hope I can get a chance to speak to you later on today, maybe on the live stream. That will be great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. My pleasure.
Cheers.
On Racing presenterar deltävling nummer 2 av Swedish Drift Championship som kommer att hållas på det storslagna Skara Sommarland. De fetaste driftingbilarna i Sverige kommer att byta lack med varandra när de går dörr i dörr för att tävla om vem som ska sluta högst upp på pallen. 29 till 30 juni på Skara Sommarland. Be there! Holy shit vad varmt det är. Jesus Christ.